Okay, so we're going to be talking about the fighting game code of conduct. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, like, yesterday or so, this popped up on Twitter to me, and it was completely, like, it was news to me. I didn't know this was in the works at all. So I found this to be interesting. Like, right from the get-go, I find the concept problematic. My initial reaction on Twitter was, why do we need this? This implies, like, I think the original tweet was about mitigating abuse within the FGC, something like that. And I have a problem with this because, and I've been vocal about this for a long time, I don't like the idea of pretending like the FGC is a bad space for people, or that we very commonly have abuse happening. I think it's a really bad misrepresentation of the FGC, and I think that's bad. I think we don't need to pretend like the possibility of you, I don't know, getting harassed is incredibly high when you attend a tournament. It seems absurd to me. This seems like adapting the code of conduct from the Smash community. We'll talk about the Smash community in a second, okay? So I'm gonna ignore chat for now and give you my 2 cents on it, and then afterwards we can talk about this. But right now, especially for YouTube, hi YouTube, we're gonna be talking about the fighting game code of conduct and my various issues with it. So I have some notes prepared for this, which are gonna be very, very helpful in making sure I don't forget about the important stuff. Since, like, this thing is kind of long, and I don't want to go I'm not going to comment on the entire thing. If you want to read up, especially if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I'm going to have a link to it below so you can check out the code of conduct for yourself and see what it's about. Here's the first thing that I have an issue with, and that's, I can probably show this to you immediately, right? Or no, let's I'm going to quote this, I guess, the first thing. So, in the wake of so many recent examples of abuse and bigotry and other bad actions in our scene, we must recognize that we have not done enough to keep our community members safe. Previously, we've only relied on individual tournament organizers and professional tours to conduct their own disciplinary actions. Unfortunately, that kind of piecemeal approach not only unfairly places too big a burden on the TOs, it also necessarily ends up in decisions that can come across as dogpiling, that can feel inconsistent, or that are made by people you may not even know. I find this one particularly interesting because we're going to get to that, who's actually deciding anything in the FGC Code of Conduct. We hope that this Code of Conduct created by the community to be enforced quickly and uniformly by a diverse committee of community members will solve these problems. Now, first of all, honestly, this is not a bad idea, okay? I mean, like, I think a lot of people will have a lot of red flags right there. There are a lot of red flags for me right there already, but let me try to be very optimistic about what this code of conduct could mean for the FGC. It's actually kind of neat if we could all agree to one code of conduct that, let's say, a new rising TO can just adopt and place for tournaments. That way we could actually have a consistent set of rules across different events, for example. I think the idea in itself is not that bad if it was used like that, but I have high doubts about this because, like, first of all, Capcom has their own, like, every event and especially like the Capcom Pro Tour, Capcom has its own code of conduct. Why would Capcom Capcom adopt the FGC Code of Conduct? It doesn't seem to make any sense if the company has already established their own code of conduct. So that in itself brings this problem. As long as not everyone is on board, I think the main value for this FGC Code of Conduct is lost. So if that's lost, and that's almost certainly not going to be there, then I feel like this is pointless. Even if it addresses genuine problems within the FGC, I already feel like right there, it's pointless if some adopt it and others aren't. Because I think the main benefit could be dealing with inconsistency, inconsistent decision making and punishment. That's a problem, and in theory this could help, but in reality it's almost certainly won't, simply because people will not adopt it. Jimmy here highlights my primary point. As someone who works with very large organizations a lot, they have their own rules and very rarely defer to other rules, especially when they are the ones putting up the money. 100%. I just don't see why Capcom, and Capcom is just an example, by the way. Capcom is just one example. Like, this is supposed to be the FGC code of conduct, not the Street Fighter code of conduct. So we're not even talking about just Capcom. We're talking about all major developers and publishers for fighting games. That's really optimistic to think that this is gonna work. But this is just the beginning of the problems, because not only do we have a consistency issue because not everyone is gonna adopt the code of conduct right there, we even have consistency issues within the code of conduct for the FGC, and we'll talk about that in a second, because like I've went through the entire thing and I've highlighted some problems, and we'll get to consistency because this thing lacks consistency. And if your code of conduct, like the sole thing that a code of conduct is supposed to do, in my opinion, if you have a set of rules, rules are supposed to be there so that everything becomes obvious and fair, right? You want to know exactly what happens if you break this rule. So if the rule states, hey, if you break this rule, and you don't even define what the rule is actually about, and you leave it open, then you have a major issue right there. But we'll get there in a second, what I'm referring to. So that's number one. Consistency is going to be a problem, and that's the only benefit that I see from this potential code of conduct. By the way, so before we even move on, I want to highlight this tweet actually right here. This is from one of an interesting tournament organizer in Germany, and he asked about the list of people that hold power essentially when it comes to the FGC code of conduct. Who are the people who decide anything regarding this code of conduct? And he pointed out that most people on that list, and you can see that for yourself right there, those are people from the US, almost exclusively from the US. Like, I don't hate people from the US. In fact, most people watching are from the US, right? But he brings up a totally valid point. How can you call this the FGC code of conduct when it's basically just US people making decisions? And they're asking for power within the entirety of the FGC to decide the fate of individuals who break rules. This seems like an incredible overreach. I find it interesting specifically because one of the main things about like this code of conduct is supposed to be like diversity. It's something that they keep saying, but well, it's just people from the US. How diverse can you be? That's just nonsense. If you're gonna say that you want to be, it's exactly like Sinjul pointed out. Call it the US FGC code of conduct, and leave it to the US region. And you kind of have to do that. Like that's like from the get-go. If all people who make decisions are from the US, you kind of have to limit it to the US. Diversity only matters when it's getting you victim points. I didn't want to say that, but you're right. Like, I mean, shouldn't come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I'm not a big fan of diversity. People who are literally in charge of creating diversity. I think there's a paradox inside of this goal that is impossible to ignore, which is why I have a big problem with it. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Anyways, that's like a really, really major point to me. This is just people from the US trying to decide the fate of people within the entirety of the FGC. I guess I should clarify when I say I'm not a big fan of diversity. If it happens naturally, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Like, I think that's excellent. It's excellent, well, because then you actually have a diverse set of minds as well, right? If you have different backgrounds coming together, then that's good. It's good. I'm not against that at all. What I'm against, what I'm absolutely against is, oh, dude, we already have enough people of your skin color. So please, can you go away, because we need other people with different skin colors, right? Like, how could anyone? I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to touch that, but that's a big problem to me, because we're reducing people based on certain attributes, and ironically, that's exactly what we're supposed to fight. It's a paradox that for some reason, some people don't see. Anyways, that's a problem. But let's get to actual things that are in this code of conduct. Like, how bad is this? Gonna get clipped out of context and wind up. Yeah, I'm gonna get canceled by the FGC code of conduct, right? Because I just broke it. Because I'm against diversity. There we go, getting canceled immediately. Actually, they have the power to do that. Like, we're gonna get to a ridiculous statement within that code of conduct in a second, okay? I want to make this really short, but I'm already speaking for like 13 minutes or longer. Anyways, let's start with the first one. Authority. This is a great way to start, because I feel like the people behind this code of conduct, that's what they're looking for. They want to have, it's a power grab. So, and when I say it's a power grab, I mean, we kind of already talked about this. I have here a note saying that who are the people behind the governing body? Where is this governing body? Right. This code of conduct will be governed by a so-called governing body, tasking with creating, enforcing, and updating both this code of conduct and its own rules. I mean, I've already mentioned this, right? These are the people. And this list was released after the fact, by the way. The code of conduct was released, and we didn't even know who the people are who supposedly approve of this code of conduct. Most of these people don't ring a bell to me. I don't recognize them, by the way, except for Ultra David, who, in my opinion, is a very controversial figure within the community. I really love his commentary, and you could actually argue that he got me into the FGC. So when it comes to commentary, I think Ultra David is like top notch, but man, his Twitter feed is problematic. At least for me, like, I find it highly problematic. Anyways, there's governing and non-governing, but it doesn't really matter. This is not really important at this point. We've already talked about why it's problematic. Everyone is in the US. If you're going to call yourself FGC code of conduct, you kind of need to be able to represent everyone, and you can't. So let's move on. Like, this is not that important, so let's just ignore this and go to the objectives. As I said, I want to keep this a little, like, somewhat short, so let's try to focus on just my comments that I made throughout reading this. The very first one, inclusivity. I love this one. Inclusivity is an objective. I think what is stated here is pretty much common sense for a lot of people. You want to have a code of conduct that allows for as many people with different backgrounds as possible to engage in whatever activity together without having an issue, right? That's what it boils down to. So it's intended to make the FGC a safe experience characterized by inclusivity. The way it's worded, it's kind of weird though. Like, not only do they want to have a safe experience, but it's supposed to be specifically characterized by inclusivity. I'm not quite sure exactly if I'm reading too much into that. But yeah, everyone's supposed to feel welcome, right? What I want to say is a code of conduct in itself, by the way, is not about inclusivity. You have and this is kind of ironic. I just want to give this like some food for thought, essentially. If you think about that, why do we have a code of conduct? We have a code of conduct to exclude people if they break a rule, right? So I find it kind of interesting that the objective is inclusivity. It's ironic because, or it's a paradox because you're setting up a code of conduct to ban people. That's not very inclusive. But I fully get it, by the way. You need rules. Rules are important. I just find it interesting that it's the first thing that is mentioned here, and you could argue that a code of conduct does exactly the opposite. But that's okay. It's a fun little poke, essentially, at the idea of inclusivity. But yeah, sure. Let's have a space where everyone, regardless of your race, color, ethnicity, can be together and do stuff together. Great. I'm fully okay with that. And here's a big one, though. Here's a big one that I do have an issue with. So, authenticity. This is a one that is supposedly one of the big 3 objectives of this code of conduct, is to give us an authentic experience. And this is where really this entire thing falls apart entirely. So let me read this out for you, okay? This code of conduct is intended to pursue the above goals of inclusivity and integrity while preserving authenticity in the FGC's unique feel, exciting fun, trash-talking spirit, and dedication to competition. Please correct me if I'm completely stupid here, but I don't understand what they're saying here. This code of conduct is specifically supposed to give boundaries to the, to the underground FGC thing that we used to have. Isn't that the whole point of the code of conduct? Like, think about how absurd it is what they just said here. They want to keep the FGC spirit alive, and the very first thing that they said above was, well, since we're having a massive problem with abuse and harassment, we're going to set rules to change that experience. Isn't the whole point of the code of conduct to go against this, what they just said? I don't get it. Why would you have authenticity as one of your main pillars or objectives if, like, a code of, like, the whole reason this thing exists is to go against that? I find this highly problematic the way it's worded, because, and you will see later on, especially this one, trash-talking spirit, okay? We'll keep that wording in mind, okay? This was written by people who entirely wanted attention, didn't care about changing anything. Like, one of the main reasons why you would want to go against this code of conduct would be to argue, well, if we can't have like this typical villain scenario in the FGC, someone trash talking, doing like bad sportsmanship and stuff like that, because that's part of, well, the fun for a lot of people, and I actually agree with that. I just don't understand what they're trying to say here. Like, how are you supposed to keep that when you're basically telling people, hey, if you don't behave, you're out? You can't have both. You have to decide which one you want to have. Either you want to have authenticity or you want to have a respectful environment for everyone, essentially, right? You can't have both. You really can't have both. And then, by the way, the argument against what I just said would be, well, sure you can have trash talk and stuff, but it should have boundaries. And I do agree it should have boundaries, but we already set boundaries. Like, you can't do whatever you want. Why do we need this code of conduct? If you overstep the boundaries that we already have in place, then people will criticize you. People will obviously going to criticize you. There are people who got canceled within the FGC, many people who are basically not allowed to be within the FGC anymore, and we didn't need this code of conduct. But yeah, that being said, let's just move on. I found this very problematic, this authenticity thing. So now conduct. I'm gonna go through some, so here's the things that you're supposed to do or supposed to not do, okay? And initially I want to go through like just one or two that I found particularly problematic. I have to admit, I find all of them problematic. Pretty much every single one I have an issue with, but still, let me try to get to the most important ones. So this one right here, let's talk about this one. Engaging in physical contact with any other person without their consent. Now you'd think, okay, if you're like touchy with someone, that's not okay, right? Without their consent. I agree. The problem is this isn't formulated very clearly. If I'm at a tournament, if I'm at a venue, and it's very, very loud, and you can barely hear people, and I need to get in contact with someone, and he's got my back, am I not allowed to touch someone like on their back and say hey and get their attention that way? That would technically be like I would break this rule right there. And then you're gonna be like, oh, that's ridiculous, nobody's gonna make a fuzz about that. Well, someone is gonna make a fuzz about that, and especially if they don't like you. The whole point, like, this is why you need to be very, very clear when it comes to how you formulate things, because any physical contact can lead to me getting banned. Okay. Better not ever touch anyone. Okay. What's this one? Oh yeah, this one is particularly funny to me. Engaging in malicious bullying, baiting, trolling, or other verbal harassment or abuse that rises to a level beyond commonly accepted FGC trash talking. I love that. And they actually use this phrasing multiple times throughout this code of conduct. Beyond commonly accepted FGC trash talking. Mazaric, thank you so much for bringing up the most obvious question right here. What is commonly accepted trash talking? I'm sure you're gonna get a different response based on the person that you ask. So since this is like, you couldn't be more vague. You have to define that. You're actually, like, this is the definition. This is supposed to be the definition for that. So this is basically, well, if we feel like you overstepped the boundaries, you're gonna get wrecked. And if we don't feel like you did that, then you're gonna be good. That's a very safe way to engage and to make sure you don't break the code of conduct, right? I love that. You need to define that. You need a definition for this. See, this is what I'm talking about, trolling like that slang. This is written for children by children. I wonder who wrote this, because it's incredibly bad. It has many, many problems. But whatever, okay? So let's get to the next one that I found interesting. Rule number 12, maliciously abusing power over any other person. What does that mean? What does that even mean? Like, they could have essentially just said here, don't be a bad person. I don't understand what this means. Like, you gotta be more specific than that. You gotta be more specific than that. But it gets even worse than that, by the way. So let's take a look at 18. So 18, intentionally causing fear or, by the way, I left out a good chunk of stuff that I find problematic, okay? This is just the short version. Intentionally causing fear or distress in any other person. How would you know that, like, how would you know the intention of a person? Like, if there's like a conflict of some sort, the person can and will actually reasonably say that it was unintentional. People feel discomfort in social environments all the time, and that's not because people are trying to make you uncomfortable. But like, and this is so common. This happens so commonly. Like, if you go and you interact with other people, there's a good chance you're gonna feel uncomfortable at some point. Like, and imagine going up to, like, the governing body. It sounds so ridiculous when I say that. I go up to the governing body and tell them about how uncomfortable I felt. And then that's it for the other person. Intimidation. You think it means that. Yeah, that's the problem. We shouldn't be speculating here. We shouldn't ever have to speculate on that. Anyways, this is a problem. Anyways, but this is the best one, by the way, okay? This is the best one. Take a look at this one. Take a look at this one. So they spend all this time, okay, explaining to us what's not okay. Okay, fair. or not fair, but fair. Let's assume fair. Take a look at this one. This is like the tip of the iceberg. This list of violations isn't exhaustive. Any other behavior that violates commonly accepted FGC standards or norms, or that goes against any of the objectives, may violate this code of conduct as well. I love this one because essentially no matter what you do or what you have or have not done, it's an option select. Exactly. It's an option select. So if you didn't break any of the rules above, you might still be banned from the FGC because somebody might feel like you broke a rule that isn't stated here. I love that. Oh, man. What was the point of mentioning all of the rules if at the very end you're saying, by the way, if you didn't break any of the rules, we might still ban you as if you broke the rules? What? That's gotta be the most like painful thing to read. Oh man, that's bad. That's really bad. Anyways, let's move on. Governance. So the governing body may convert, like this is something like, I think this is just something I don't understand from a legal perspective. But I find this as like just the ordinary person, I find this incredibly amusing. The governing body may convert itself into a non-profit or other legal entity if it feels the need. I don't understand what this is even supposed to mean. Is that supposed to mean that young Zeku transforms into old Zeku? What are they actually saying here? I just found this one amusing. Anyways, it's probably insignificant, or at least for us, for now, insignificant, okay? Probably has to do with some legality that Ultra David brought up here, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. I just find this one interesting. It's saying if they choose to in the future, they could file for non-profit status and start making money and paying people to be on their board. Oh, wow! Wait. Are they actually making any money right now with this? It's a tax loophole. Actually, no, this might be more significant than I thought. I doubted they're just putting it in there to cover themselves. Okay. Yeah, they're putting everything in there to cover themselves. Okay, so here's the next one that I want to talk about. So we are at 5, investigation, adjudication, and enforcement. And this is a good one as well. Okay, this is a really good one. Let's read this one. Because the violations prohibited by this code of conduct were already obviously bad, and because the goal of this code of conduct is to protect participants now and in the future, participants may be subject to disciplinary action under this code of conduct for violations committed before this code of conduct was first adopted, if those violations suggest that the participants may be likely to continue to engage in more violations in the future. This is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely insanity, right? Imagine like 20 years ago, the FGC was a completely different space, right? Imagine from something that happened like 10 years ago, you're gonna get banned because of this code of conduct. And what I find even better about this is, like, who is gonna decide that the violation is likely to occur again? What does that even mean? Who's gonna decide that? This feels like working in corporate. Ultra David is gonna decide that. Anyways, I found this one interesting. Standards. Wow. Now we're getting to a point that this code of conduct definitely was lacking. So I'll agree with that. Let's see what the standards are like. This code of conduct doesn't replace the legal system and can't produce decisions as severe as those of the legal system, so it isn't bound by the same processes. Standards of proof. This is a good one. or rules of evidence that would apply in court of law. Decisions will be based on the facts of each case, including any reports, investigations, patterns of behavior, future likelihood of more violations, and any other information or processes that the decision makers find appropriate. So what this is basically saying is, no matter what, like, the law is like, we're not going to care about actual evidence. We're going to care about how we feel about this person. This is incredible. This is actually incredible because this is labeled as standards, right? And then the next couple of sentences is like, we don't have any standards. I find this so funny. I shouldn't find this funny. I find this incredibly scary. This is really scary stuff. Consistency. Consistency. We're definitely lacking consistency as, like, up until that point, right? So let's see what the consistency is like. Disciplinary action under this code of conduct is intended to be consistent and foreseeable enough that participants who violate this code of conduct should expect to face consequences. That said, since no two situations are the same, the decision makers will have broad leeway and will strive to fit each of their decisions to the unique facts of each case. So what they're saying is, we don't have consistency. So yeah, let's get back to this. I find this incredibly funny because the whole point of a code of conduct, why is this suggested? Why is a code of conduct suggested? It's suggested because this way we can actually have some consistency, right? If person A breaks a rule, and then, like, the tournament organizer at the event that you're on is gonna be, like, really harsh and is gonna ban you forever from the event, right? And then the same, like, another person breaks the exact same rule at a different tournament, he could face no real consequences. And then the FGC is going to be like, oh, this is not fair. These two persons did the same thing. They committed the same crime, but they faced very different consequences, right? And a code of conduct like this could help mitigate that risk. But with, like, the consistency, like with this line right here makes everything like this is complete. Consistency is thrown out the window when you label it like that. I find this extremely interesting how this is written. It's basically, well, the people at the board can decide whatever they want to. Like, what's the point of the code of conduct then? But yeah, that's basically everything that I want to comment on. The rest, like, there's way more stuff in there, but I've been talking about this for 36 minutes now, and I think this is where I should draw the line. I want to give you guys, like, before I stop talking about this entirely, I want to give my 2 cents on this whole topic. I think it's nice. I think the idea, I want to hope the idea of a code of conduct is supposed to be to improve the situation, to make things actually better for, like, people. If that's what would happen here, then, like, honestly, that would be nice, but I just don't see it. I simply don't think we need a code of conduct for the FGC. And the reason why we don't need a code of conduct is because when shitty people do shitty things, they do face consequences already. So why are you suggesting to give up a lot of power, or give a lot of power to a few people that are supposed to represent, and they can't represent the entirety of the FGC? It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. We're not actually gaining anything. All we're doing is we're giving a few selected people a lot of control. Yeah, exactly. And this is another one. Paul is 100% right. They represent us, but we never pick them. We never, like, there was no voting of any sort. This is so important. If you want people to represent the FGC, well, then you kind of have to set up some fashion. This is why I was so scared when I read, oh, we have established this code of conduct like leaders within the FGC. And I'm like, why is this such a secret process? If they're supposed to represent us, why is this not like an official thing that is being debated? Like, I don't get this. So yeah, like in every aspect, I think this code of conduct is failing the people that it's supposed to serve. It's poorly written. It's very poorly written. There are multiple objectives that actually don't go together. You can't strive for an authenticity, but at the same time, like, so you can't have like the FGC feel, the old one, and so you can't have that and have, well, whatever it is you're trying to do with this code of conduct that is supposed to help us with harassment and abuse. So you can't have those two things together, and there are many issues with this. Very ambiguous in a lot of cases. So if you're ambiguous on everything, then your code of conduct means nothing. So yeah, that's a big problem. I do understand though why people want this. I wanna pretend like this is done from like good people with good intentions have done this, okay? Let's just assume this is the case. I fully understand this idea that like trying to punish bad actors as much as possible, so that good people can enjoy themselves, right? I think it comes from this philosophy that there are bad apples, and they're just bad apples, and we need to find them and get rid of them as quickly as possible. Reality is a lot more different though. Not everything is black or white. There are so many gray areas, and we're just humans, and humans make mistakes. And I used to think that truly that they're just good and bad people, and that's it. And as long as you meet the good people, you're gonna be fine. The reality doesn't work like that. Turns out humans are really complicated, and anyone can make shitty decisions or be a shitty person. And this is why this code of conduct is a problem, because you're going to mess up. You're going to make a mistake at some point. You're going to do something or say something that is regrettable. And I don't think it's really helpful on multiple levels to pretend like we're doing something good for the community by, well, establishing a code of conduct that is, I think, trying to just say, don't be a shitty person, right? I don't think you're helping anyone with this, first of all. And on top of that, I'm supposed to give up power to you to decide what is okay and what isn't, and you're not even going to define properly what it is to behave properly. And like, there's so many red flags right there. 95% of this document is simply copy pasted out of other documents. Nobody with any credible law contract experience even glanced at. I don't think so. As far as I know, Ultra David is a real lawyer, right? So I have no doubts he took a look at this document. I have no doubts about that. He definitely did. And if you take a look at his tweets, then to me this does not come to, like, this is not surprising at all that he'd be in favor of a code of conduct. He seems to be the type of person that, like, sorry to say that, but I think Ultra David, if he had the option to seize control of everything and to, this sounds harsh right there, but I think he really likes the idea of like really, really harsh punishment for any kind of misstep that you have, in the name of well, making the community better. And I really, really don't. Yeah, he's like a spectacle rock. I didn't really want to say that, but seems to me that, yeah. And I don't like that. And he's one of the persons that is going to be in charge of this thing. No thanks. And keep in mind, I don't hate Ultra David on, like, when it comes to, like, I came to really enjoy Ultra David's commentary. I really need to establish that once again. He was one of the persons that I really looked up to when it came to, well, content creation and just like the way he talks about fighting games, and like his commentary is on a very high level, and it's very respectable. But on a personal level, like what he has to say on Twitter in a lot of cases is just, man, I don't want to give this guy power. Is there any signature under these protocols? Who's the president of the FGC? Did anyone vote? No, there's no voting system. It's just that respected community members are in charge. You didn't get to choose them, but they are really respected, trust me. For me, you're the one I look up to, Buddha. Never look up to a single person too much. This is something that I've learned. There are people who are going to hate whatever I say, and there are going to be people who are going to love whatever I say. Just as an example, don't give a single person too much power. Don't ever give a single person too much power, because they're just humans and they're going to fuck up. I'm not a perfect human being. Nobody is. And I'm going to do some stuff that a lot of people are going to be happy about, and I'm going to do some stuff that a lot of people are not going to be happy about. So keep that in mind, okay? Never never think that one person that you look up to is a perfect human being. It's almost certainly not the case, and it's better for your mental health if you learn to deal with disappointment within the people that you look up to. Anyways, I guess that's it. Wait, you're single? Wait, what did I say to make you say that? Never look up to a single person. Oh, wow. See? That's ambiguous, right? Maybe I should apply to the FGC Code of Conduct to be part of the governing body. I'm as ambiguous as they are. Let's go. I should apply. Okay, I'll leave it at that. That's it. That's all I have to say for now. I've been talking about this for way too long anyways, so yeah. Let's move on to some Street Fighter.